The film form of Selma, and more particularly the Jimmy Lee Jackson speech, has some very interesting instances of film form. The cinematography of the scene, it gives this sense of community as everyone gathered in the church comes together in this time of need when they're mourning the loss of someone they knew. There are multiple shots of the crowd, which it shows just how they were all connected and there was this community, and it reinforces that feeling of togetherness. Cinematography also puts Martin Luther King on this pedestal and makes him seem like a deified figure. It is done through low angle shots. Basically, it makes him seem almighty compared to the people he's speaking to, and like this is evident through the symmetrical shots. It is all symmetrical, or if it's not symmetrical, then we're looking at him from a low angle. There's never a bit where he's undermined. The editing on top of this cinematography is also excellent. The way the film switches between perspective shots of Martin Luther King preaching the truth and what he believes in, to then show shots of the crowd agreeing with everything he says. It all makes for a positive experience, which I would say, in some instances, utilises emotional contagion. As an audience member, when watching it, I felt as if I was feeling the exact emotions that DuVernay wanted to bring out in the scene. You see these people crying, and it focuses on the crowd as they react to what Martin is saying. It all makes for an emotional experience where you feel as if you're in the church with the crowd watching Martin give the speech. The mise-en-scène of this scene adds on to the religious aspect of the scene, which is previously established through the cinematography and the symmetrical shots and the power that he held in the church. The warm lighting of the church gives an audience this sense of calm and sort of serenity, as it's a place which is supposed to bring people together and let them reflect. The warm lighting of the church is beautifully positioned MLK centre stage, and it sort of shines around him and makes him just seem like this powerful figure who is in control of the situation, and it makes him all that much more persuasive as the lighting it makes him seem, I've already used the word once, but deified once again. The sound of the scene is also done brilliantly. The scene starts with a tad bit of non-diegetic dialogue, as MLK starts speaking before we're taken into the church with him. There is no music used near the beginning of the scene, as MLK is speaking quietly, with honesty and with mourning in his voice. However, as the scene progresses and MLK starts speaking with much more conviction and power behind his voice, the music builds up to a consistent drum beat, which when combined with the powerful and bombastic dialogue, it just, once again, puts Martin in this position of power and persuasion, where he has total control over the audience and the people in the room with him. It is truly persuasive. The way that this film creates such powerful emotion and draws an audience in through dialogue, music and cinematography creates a passive model of spectatorship. The film invests an audience within each scene, and with this scene in particular, an audience member is paying full attention to what MLK is saying. Due to the fact that MLK speaks in such a truthful and persuasive way, I'd say that an audience is inclined to have a passive model of spectatorship, as they don't want to and can't really find any other meaning behind what MLK is saying. And as sad as this scene is at the start, by the end, MLK has transformed that sadness into inspiration. By doing this, DuVernay creates a multi-genred scene. It goes from being a scene which highlights tragedy to being a scene which focuses on the corruption which was so prevalent within the time of the civil rights movement. In a weird way, the aesthetic of this scene is golden. Everything appears to have a glossy appearance which adds beauty to the scene and furthers the religious aspects. The golden shine to everything makes it seem as if they have some divine being looking over them in their struggle. The context of this scene and the film as a whole makes for an experience where an audience member can't disagree with what is being presented to them. In relation to the scene, Jimmy Lee Jackson has just been murdered by the people who are supposed to keep the peace and order of society. So when MLK gives his speech about Jackson and how his own government murdered him, an audience member can't disagree, as MLK deals in facts and villainizes the people who oppose him. Most people who view this film will come out of it having gathered the same meanings and messages from the experience, exceptions to this rule being racists or people who lack common sense. DuVernay, I imagine, included such a powerful and political scene as a way of expressing how she felt on the real-life situation at the time, Black Lives Matter. Truthfully, the entire film could be seen as a positive and progressive piece of media for Black Lives Matter, as it highlights and paints people of colour in such a positive way. However, this scene is one of many which does it the best. With this scene, DuVernay is giving her own opinions on injustice, due to the fact that she helped write every speech within this film, meaning that she has some sort of say in what Martin Luther King says. The Jimmy Lee Jackson scene also features a representation of black people. This scene represents them in such a positive light, which is brilliant to see. It feels like a fair representation where people can come together and listen to MLK speak in such a persuasive way. Throughout the scene, it's constantly reinforced that people are coming together to have this sense of community and listen to a persuasive figure. This is reinforced through the camera angles and the editing, where it constantly shows a crowd of people all in awe at what is being said to them,